So there's about 200 million users that are onboarded on the UPI system. So the big announcement that we made in the conference was that Zapit basically integrated with the UPI system, and any user can now use Bitcoin Cash to make payments at all of these millions of merchant stores.
One of the biggest challenges to the adoption of cryptocurrencies as, actual currencies is that there's still kind of not that many places you can spend them for your day-to-day expenses. So in this part of the adoption phase, it's critical to have some kind of services that sort of help us bootstrap the actual usage of cryptocurrencies by acting as a go-between. And that's one of the reasons I absolutely had to talk with Romit Goswami of Zapit, whose company enables people to basically spend cryptocurrency, specifically Bitcoin Cash, almost everywhere in India, which really solves a lot of problems for not just allowing people to live on cryptocurrency in the country, but also to enable easy remittances from people outside the country. So here's what he had to say. So, hey everyone, I have the fantastic pleasure today of speaking with the one and only Romit Goswami, founder and CEO of Zapit. How's it going, man?
It's going great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you were recommended by a mutual friend on Twitter, of all places. Of course, Twitter's become quite the place for just about everything these days. It's so. Do you want to really quick introduce yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, as you introduced, my name is Romit. I'm from India. I'm the founder of Zapit.io. It's a non-custodial Bitcoin Cash wallet. Our primary focus was to enable peer-to-peer payments within the Indian market. Although as it's a non-custodial wallet, we are available for the global audience. Our primary focus was to build features and services for the Indian market. This came about, from the need of in India there was basically a huge ban that was introduced by the central bank, so that no cryptocurrency businesses could offer or actually get bank accounts. So yeah, most of the bank accounts at that point shut down, and it was very hard for me to engage with Bitcoin Cash or any other cryptocurrencies for that matter. It was actually quite difficult. There were centralized peer-to-peer exchanges where you had to buy USDT first, and then maybe swap to BTC, and then from BTC to BCH or any other cryptocurrencies. It was a real hassle to
Yeah,
actually
makes
engage, because I would try to use Bitcoin Cash for payments in my life as many places as possible. So this was a huge hassle for me. So the initial plan was to actually build a payments app which had like a peer-to-peer exchange built into the app. But we wanted to build it such that there is no KYC involved. So the point was to use Bitcoin Cash smart contracts to enable like a smart contract based escrow system, and just have people trade in that peer-to-peer exchange. So we managed to do that. I don't know if you've heard of local.bitcoin.com or localcryptos.com. They
yes.
have
I've
a similar escrow system as well. Yeah, so we basically managed to launch a similar platform along with the wallet. So that is how it started off with, and it has expanded from there on. Maybe we'll get into that more later, but yeah. So that's just a brief about.
Yeah, could you go a little bit more into the legal situation around cryptocurrencies in India? What kind of restrictions are in place?
Yeah, so after the ban was introduced, I think it lasted for about a year or so. And then, there was a challenge in the Supreme Court where it was struck down. The Supreme Court, basically said the central bank that you have no authority to actually introduce a ban, and it was struck down. If any kind of a ban has to take place, it has to come from the government, not from the central bank. Because we all know
Yeah.
that the central banks and governments are two separate entities, unlike some people believe that central banks are part of the government. They are not.
Yeah.
So later on, I think the government kind of worked with other exchanges, like larger exchanges that existed in the market, Well, the exchanges try to lobby certain regulations in to prevent smaller players to come into the market
Of
space.
course,
But
the
what ended up
FTX
happening is,
playbook, right?
yeah, so that's what they wanted to try and introduce. But actually, the government got a upper hand, and they actually understood what kind of regulations to bring in. And the only thing that they introduced was two taxes basically. One was a tax on your profits, which means if you bought any crypto, you made a profit on it. When you sold your cryptocurrencies, you had to pay 30% on your profits. So that was a huge thing that they introduced. But I think a bigger killer in the space was introducing a 1% TDS, which is tax deducted at source or something like that. So what
Mm,
happened is every time you made a trade, doesn't matter, you have to pay 1%. So usually the exchanges would charge you zero point 0.1 or 0.15 or even 0.2%. But the government said, oh, you have to charge 1% extra and give that to us. So basically, all the exchanges in India now charge 1.1 or 1.2%, out of which the 1% goes to the government.
yeah.
That killed a lot of trading of cryptocurrencies in India. Like the volumes dropped, tremendously. And then the exchanges, the very exchanges that lobbied for regulations, they started, panicking. They're like, oh no, this is not the right way to do it, and yeah, they did all that kinds of stuff. But I don't know. I mean, we have to find innovative ways to actually get around these regulations. But yeah, it's really bad in terms of if you want to build something that has any kind of crypto transactions that's associated with the Indian rupee, then yeah, you will have to charge 1% for every transaction. So there's no way you
Mm.
can do what do you call it, like micro fees. Like you cannot charge less than 1%. That's just not possible in India anymore.
Yeah, and so does this does not impact the use of payments, correct? So you can pay a merchant or something like that, and as long as they don't have to exchange at the back end into rupees, for example, then there's no real restrictions, right?
Yes, that's right. Crypto to crypto transactions itself is not in any way affected. Like peer-to-peer transactions are not affected. The problem is only when there is a conversion. Now they have said that crypto to crypto exchanges are also supposed to be taxed at 1%, but I'm not sure how they're going to regulate that. Like especially if it's like a non-custodial platform where the swap is happening within the wallet or using a decentralized exchange, for example. There's no way they're going to be able to regulate that. But I think it mostly applies to custodial platforms like trading platforms.
So there's pretty much nothing barring a small vendor from deciding they want to accept payments in cryptocurrency, right?
Not really, no. There isn't any law that says crypto payments itself are not allowed. Although a lot of politicians have verbally said that they're not going to allow crypto payments, there's nothing written in law as of now yet. Because they know that
Yeah,
they can't really stop it. They can't enforce the law that they write. Like how are you gonna how are you
of
gonna
course.
take down someone who by themselves just start accepting cryptocurrencies for payments? That's not really gonna work out.
Yeah, and I can imagine because of the previous ban, it probably made a lot of people not want to be afraid to sort of experiment with cryptocurrencies, taking them for payments and things like that. So I can imagine the actual scene of people using them for payments on a small scale is probably pretty small and new at this point. Is that right?
Yes. Also, I think one thing that people don't realize that uh, India actually has a very, highly sophisticated financial system in terms of payments. It's really amazing what we have now because we do have instant settlements in payments. We have, no fees. Um, so there was this thing introduced around 6 years back called the UPI payments. It was introduced by a corporation. They offered it as a solution for like a payments interface to the government. They said that, hey, we have built a highly scalable solution for payments that can be used by all the banks, all the payment apps, all the payment wallets, non crypto wallets, that is. And yeah, it's all interoperable. Like, not sure if you know much about the Chinese apps like WeChat Pay and
Mm-hmm.
Alipay. They are single use app, which means if you have WeChat, I can pay you with WeChat only. For example, if I have Alipay, I cannot pay you being a WeChat user. That was kind of solved within India, which is in India we have apps called Google Pay, there's Amazon Pay, there's Phone Pay, there's Paytm. Each individual could have a different app, but we could still make payments to each other using this UPI system. And yeah, it caught on really well within the Indian ecosystem because it was just amazing. Because before that, India was a highly cash based system. There was
Mm-hmm.
this event that took place called demonetization, where the government basically withdrew or banned the higher notes, like the
Mm-hmm.
500 rupee and the
Yeah, I
1000
remember
rupee
that.
notes. Yeah. So that basically pushed India in completely into digital payments. Everyone started using digital payments after that because yeah, it was just way more convenient to do so. And UPI was right there at the forefront to take over. The payment interface was introduced within all the banks and all the payment apps, and everybody just started to use it. And yeah, you can basically make a payment and it's instantly available to the merchant or to another user. They don't have to wait 1 or 2 days for the funds to arrive in their bank account. There's no fees, like there is zero fees to make these payments. And yeah, I mean, it's really hard to sell a cryptocurrency as a payment method option while Indians are already using, a really good payment system. The only other argument that we could have is that, hey, you have a self-sovereign money, like you have a non-custodial wallet that where you can hold your own funds, unlike handing over your funds to the bank accounts. But people don't really care about that
Mm.
until and unless they end up losing money. They don't tend to care about that too much.
So, what is inflation like?
Well, considering the inflation that's taking place in uh, in the US or the
Mm-hmm.
Europe, it's quite good here. It's maybe under 7% now, so
Mm-hmm.
it's not too much. Yeah, it's relatively stable, right? Compared to any other country out there, it's quite stable, and the economic situation in India is actually doing quite well.
Yeah. So, what is also the I guess the scene of the censorship scene? Because uh, in obviously one of the key tenets of cryptocurrency is censorship resistance, and for the largely people don't really experience that, or they haven't in the past. And then now, for example, in the Western world, you're starting to see more examples of that where people are being censored for speech or for whatever else. And it's starting to the I've noticed a night and day difference since,
Mhm.
because I've been using cryptocurrency since 2013, and I noticed in 2019 to 2020 and beyond started to be a huge difference in the kinds of people who were interested and why they were interested. And so, is there a situation in India, like how are there any cases where you know of where people who were not abject criminals, right, would be losing access to their funds or have restricted access to making payments or anything?
So with respect to just being censored for payments, I don't think there are many examples. It would only be in the most extreme cases, like if you were caught in a terrorist act or something like that. Then
Mm-hmm.
yes, your bank account might be freezed, or if you were involved in a scam where you're stealing people's money, you're running a Ponzi scheme. These kind of things, yes, you will lose access to your bank account, or your funds will get stolen or seized. But with respect to speech, like I don't think if you say something wrong about the government, uh, they don't tend to freeze your funds for those kind of things. So it's not yet. I mean, I would say that the word is not yet. It's
Mm-hmm.
not yet got to that stage.
Of
It's
course.
it's only Well, they are introducing the CBDCs here pretty quick. They're already launching the pilot program, which is surprising because we thought that they would be waiting for the Western countries to introduce them first. Seems like India is pushing forward, like they're going ahead with it. Not sure as to how much that would cause an issue because it just gets more easier to have censorship with CBDCs. But they're also not posing it as a replacement. They're saying it's going to exist along with the other payment methods in India. Of course, that's how it starts with,
Of course, a
until eventually
transition.
everything else is rolled out. Um, but yeah, I would say that there's not much instances of censorship that we see right now.
It's so as far as onboarding people to the old financial system, or rather the modernized old financial system, I should say.
Yeah.
Is there much friction in getting new people to kind of get into the payment system? So, for example, one of the biggest annoyances about using banking services, etc., in the Western world is KYC. It's not just that
Mhm.
it's not that you prevent people from getting on board. It's just that it's difficult. You have to
Yeah.
wait. There's all that friction, and then in a lot of places in developing countries like in Latin America, for example, there's a lot of lack of inclusion because of lack of proper identification and things like that that would allow people to get that. So is that at all of a problem or a restriction in India?
Oh yeah, that is still a huge problem because I think there's about 200 million individuals in India that still don't have access to banking because they lack, basic identity-based documents. They don't have the documents that's required to open a bank account. They have made certain provisions to, use cash in a way where they can make payments, but it's not at all as easy for someone like us. So 200 million is still a large population that's unbanked within India. Although the percentage is less than 20% at this point, I would say in few other countries, percentage-wise, they might be higher, but we are talking about lesser population there. But here the population is higher, so even 200 million is still a large number. But yeah, I think cryptocurrencies can solve at least this problem for these people, and these people do have smartphones. Like out of the 200 million, at least 80% of them would have access to smartphones because it's really cheap. They can afford them. Like we have seen them. Like you go to the village side, they may not have access to any kind of banking, but they have smartphones. They're able to use the internet.
Of
They have
course.
access to internet banking technically using their phone, but they can't even open a bank account. So I think with more education, I think those people can be onboarded to cryptocurrencies and yeah, get them involved in the financial ecosystem. And that's one of the things that we are definitely focusing on.
Yeah. And so, what is the cryptocurrency scene like on the whole in India right now?
Well, there's two ways of looking at it. One is there's definitely the trading aspect, the exchanges aspect, where people just think that, oh, these are assets that you buy, the price pumps up, and then you sell to make some money. There's a bunch of people that think just that. The other part is we do see a huge builder community growing. People are building stuff on mostly the Web3 side, whether it's NFTs or lending protocols or building like scalable blockchains or things like that. But that's just the tech part of it, right? People who are involved in the tech side of it. Um, yeah, that's the only two things that we really see. We don't see any usage. We don't see any payments, or we don't see people actually making use of cryptocurrencies at all. Right now, there's actually a thing happening in India. It's called Blockchain Week. The entire week right now, there's some or the other blockchain event taking place. I think by Filecoin, which I did attend yesterday for the last 2 days. Then Polygon is hosting. There's ETH India. So mostly it's for the builders, the developers,
Yeah.
startups, like accelerators, basically looking to invest in these platforms or builders.
Yeah. And so, what is the Bitcoin Cash scene like in India right now?
Almost non-existent.
Well,
Like,
that's
not
kind of a
many
great
people know
place to
about
be because there's
it.
so much upside for growth, you know?
Yeah. Also, I don't think people necessarily need to know about Bitcoin Cash as, from the brand name perspective. As
Mm-hmm.
long as a solution is offered which does use the blockchain, which makes their life easier with respect to payments and things like that, I think that's a bigger push here. They don't necessarily need to know that they're using the blockchain technology. And exchanges don't really do too much of help either, because most of them disable the deposits and withdrawals specifically of Bitcoin Cash in India.
Hmm.
You see, all the other coins are open for deposits and withdrawal except Bitcoin Cash.
Why is
So
that, do
we
you
see
think?
that clearly there's a push against Bitcoin Cash within the Indian exchanges.
Do you know why that would be?
Well, we've tried to reach out to them. They always say that, oh, the wallet is under maintenance, the nodes are down, or something like that. But it's
Hmm.
always Bitcoin Cash for some reason. None of the other coins face the same issue. Sometimes maybe they do have actual maintenance of other wallets, gets taken down for maybe a few hours. But the Bitcoin Cash ones are taken down for days. Maybe within a month, you may get 1 or 2 day window where you can deposit or withdraw Bitcoin Cash. But that's pretty much it.
Yeah. So, this seems to be, there was news recently about the Coinbase wallet removing Bitcoin Cash, which is surprising to me because
Yeah.
Coinbase was always a exchange very much promoting Bitcoin Cash outside of its influence, right? And Bitcoin Cash still has some trading volume on the exchange. It's still done. And then, for example, I know some people who use Dash in the Coinbase wallet, and it's still there, but Dash has less trading volume right now than Bitcoin
Mhm.
Cash. It seemed a little strange. I mean, there's a few of those that were like, oh, Ethereum Classic, and then Stellar Lumens and stuff like that, or Stellar as it called these days. I
Mhm.
can understand maybe those don't get a lot of wallet traction, but it just seemed a little strange. I mean, I'm not a conspiracy person, but sometimes it seems there might be a little collusion.
Yeah, well, I would say I am a conspiracy person, and it's funny
Mm-hmm.
because I think recently the news was that BlackRock kind of got involved with Coinbase. Not sure if that has anything to do with it, but before that, everything seems to have gone well. But yeah, certain individuals get involved, and now everything starts to change. Well, not sure. I don't know what the reality is.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not sure if it has to do with the trading volume, or did they say it's the transaction volume,
Mm-hmm.
like the
It is a
payment
transaction
transaction.
wallet, so I don't.
Yeah.
They said like due to like little use or something like that. So it just seems strange that, for example, like as far as I know, the vast majority of Dash usage comes through the more
Mhm.
proprietary Dash wallets, right? And
Right.
so it does not make sense that Dash would have a lot of volume on the Coinbase wallet specifically that
Mhm.
Bitcoin Cash would not. Just, it
Right.
doesn't seem like that. It's,
Well, same with Bitcoin Cash. I don't know anyone that uses the Coinbase wallet for Bitcoin
mm-hmm.
Cash or any
Yeah.
other coin for that matter. I know people use the Coinbase exchange to buy and sell the cryptos, but not sure anyone uses the Coinbase non-custodial wallet. I
Yeah,
think most of them use the Bitcoin.com wallet.
that is kind of funny when you consider the whole crypto space. It's definitely not one space. There's little pockets, and
Yeah.
so sometimes I see like who uses this, who who even touches, and then there's a lot of people over somewhere else that are doing a whole lot of that stuff, and so there's a lot of areas in the space where Bitcoin Cash's kind of presence is almost non-existent. But then there's other spots you come in, it's like, oh, it's all this. Like certain geographies, like St. Kitts and then Australia, and like the Caribbean area, and then certain payment applications and things like that. There's like a vibrant, heavy
Mhm.
community there, and then it's always interesting to see where Bitcoin, which is the most well-known cryptocurrency, um, sometimes where people don't even touch it. So, like for example, where I live in New Hampshire, there's of
Mhm.
course some usage, but for payments for at like local merchants and stuff, BTC has like almost zero, like very close to zero payments, and then most of them are probably Dash, Bitcoin Cash, and Monero. Those are the vast majority. Even I would say there's more Zcash being spent places than there is Bitcoin. So it's kind of interesting how that works out.
Yeah, it's good to see, in places like New Hampshire, people are using cryptocurrencies, because we would love to see that in India.
Hmm.
Like nobody really wants to use it here. And I think with respect to Bitcoin Cash, it's mostly been on the merchant onboarding front, right? Like the focus has been to onboard merchants to start accepting Bitcoin Cash for payments, but nobody's really pushing people to start using Bitcoin Cash for payments. Like I see that as two different things: accepting versus actually paying. Like,
Yeah,
yeah, we could get
as they
thousands of
say,
merchants
the
to start
chicken
accepting.
and then the egg.
Yeah. So yeah, we could get thousands of merchants to start accepting, but who's really paying with Bitcoin Cash? Like what efforts are we really doing in order to use Bitcoin Cash or even Dash for that matter, for payments? Like very few of us, just the fans of the coin or people who really believe in the ethos of the space. It's just us that are using it, and I think the efforts have to be put in to get the majority of the people to start using them for payments. And the major hurdle that we do see is the volatility. That's, I think, the number one issue that we at least come across from building the wallet, getting feedback from all kinds of users, and trying to get people to start using it. The main fear is that, hey, yes, we could accept the payment in cryptocurrency today, but what if the price drops by 10% tomorrow or in 2 days? What do we do then? So yeah, I mean, this is where I'm quite bullish about AnyHedge, the AnyHedge technology within Bitcoin Cash that allows uh, one to stabilize the price of BCH while holding BCH itself, and not really going into a centralized stable coin or something like that. I think that's quite a good thing, and we are also looking into some sort of a solution there. But it's still not here, and yeah, I think it's still a long way to go to try and actually build something so that regular people could start using cryptocurrencies again. The key is, with something like this, we could introduce the dollar value or the rupee value within the wallet, and they're transferring just that, but technically they're still using the underlying asset. They're still using Bitcoin Cash or any other cryptocurrency that might allow for something like this.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you want to really quick go over kind of everything that Zapit does. So it's a wallet, right? It's a non-custodial
Mhm.
wallet, and then
Yeah.
what are the other services that are included in there?
So we started off with the peer-to-peer exchange, with a decentralized escrow, you can call it. So
Yeah,
it's
of
a
course.
non-KYC based peer-to-peer exchange um, where you could buy and sell Bitcoin Cash for any fiat in any country, for any payment method, essentially. So once that was introduced, we realized that you know it's a quite a slow process. Peer-to-peer exchanges are also not for everyone.
Of course.
People don't tend to like waiting for a long time because peer-to-peer exchanges is a bit more slower. So we did introduce a centralized on-ramp and off-ramp by partnering with another exchange as well. So yeah, there's a centralized, I would say, on-ramp and off-ramp service that we offer too. That requires KYC, but again, we don't handle the KYC. It's our exchange partner that handles it. So we give the choice to our users whether you want to use a non KYC based on ramping or a KYC based on ramping. Other than that, we also have a coin swap service that we have introduced where users can swap from BCH to other coins and from other coins to BCH. So that's just like a regular coin swap. For example, if you want to go from BCH to Dash or Dash to BCH, you can do that within the wallet.
Yeah. Is that through SideShift?
Yes, yes, we have integrated SideShift for that.
Yeah. I've been using SideShift for a few years now. I
Yeah,
know
I
Andreas and
think
all
it's a
them.
pretty cool exchange.
Yeah. Now, does a one thing I always have to do with SideShift is turn on a VPN because I don't like US based
Oh yes,
consumers,
yes.
but I'm sure that's not a problem in India.
No, surprisingly, we have actually not done some tests how it would work in the wallet itself. I think we would need some feedback from our US based users of Zapit whether SideShift actually works within the wallet. But I think it shouldn't, according to how they do block the IP addresses. But yeah, we don't face any issues, so we can swap as much as we want.
Yeah, it's so. Tell me about the payments part of things because that was kind of the big thing. I
Mhm.
unfortunately was unable to attend the Bitcoin Cash conference recently, but I heard there
Mhm.
was a very big unveiling on the payments side from you guys' side. You mind
Yeah.
getting a little bit more on that?
Sure. So I think we just went through the UPI payments a bit earlier. So with respect to the adoption of UPI itself, um, there are basically 60 million offline merchants that accept UPI payments. There's about 40 million online merchants like e-commerce websites and things like that. And UPI is not just for merchants; it's also between individuals. Like, if you're an individual, I'm individual, I can send you money using the UPI payment system as well. So there's about 200 million users that are onboarded on the UPI system. So the big announcement that we made in the conference was that Zapit basically integrated with the UPI system, and any user can now use Bitcoin Cash to make payments at all of these millions of merchant stores. So you could basically take your Zapit wallet, have Bitcoin Cash in it, walk to most of the stores around India, and pay with Bitcoin Cash, and the merchant would actually receive it in INR, in the Indian rupee. So the merchant has no idea that you have paid with Bitcoin Cash. They just see the rupee, coming into their bank account immediately. They get a notification that yeah, you received the payment. So I think this was a pretty huge announcement that we unveiled, which I think makes Bitcoin Cash one of the most usable currencies. It would make Zapit one of the most usable wallets, crypto wallets out there, and we are quite excited to expand on this very feature.
Yeah, and so how does that? How does the user experience kind of seem like that? So you go to a merchant, they say this is the total, and they're in your Zapit wallet, and you have Bitcoin Cash only. And then what's the next step?
Yeah, so the way UPI works is you either enter like a UPI code, it's like a single string, or there are QR codes available everywhere. In India, you just walk a street and you will find the UPI QR codes everywhere. So, yeah, with respect to crypto payments, I think everyone's already aware of how to scan a QR code. So you just click on the scan, you scan the UPI QR code, and you enter the amount that you want to pay, and then yeah, you just confirm the payment and it's done. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, and so when you hit pay in Zapit wallet, then it sends Bitcoin Cash
Yeah, it
to
sends Bitcoin Cash to Zapit basically. So we collect the Bitcoin Cash and we send out the INR from our end to the merchant.
yeah, and
So there's an
like
instant swap that takes place there.
what's the kind of this might be a little bit of a non-typical question, but because I work so heavily in like user experience kind of thing, uh,
Mhm.
what what's the time between hitting send and
Mhm.
then the payment being confirmed from the merchant side? Usually, is it like 5 seconds, 10 seconds?
Yeah.
Like what is it?
Yeah, so the merchant receives it maybe under 5 seconds. So usually a regular UPI app. So if you just use like Google Pay, for example, it would take like 3 to 4 seconds to confirm. Like that's the typical amount of time it takes to load the transaction and then complete, and the merchant gets the notification. But here, since there is a BCH transaction also involved, it adds another second or so. So you could say yeah, under 5 seconds.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's not
those
too bad. I don't think there's a noticeable difference. People are used to, just seeing the circle go around a few times and then it's confirmed. It's the
yeah.
same experience basically within Zapit as well.
Yeah, that makes sense. And so, what kind of a fee is associated or a spread, I guess, in when doing the actual payment?
Yeah, so we don't have any spread. We just add one extra output of, like 546 satoshis of BCH, which is like, I would say half a cent or something like that. It's the most minimal amount that we can charge. And with respect to UPI payments, um, they do close to 3.5 billion transactions a month. That's the scale that they are operating in. That's a huge amount of transactions that they are able to process through. And you know we are basically trying to get a market share of that. And the calculation that we made is we don't really need too much high of a market share to actually be profitable at this point. Like, even if you're charging very low fee, we can still make money by the sheer amount of volume that we get in terms of payments, if you're able to capture the market. In comparison, one of the biggest apps right now that has the highest share, which is about 40%, it's called PhonePe. PhonePe is the biggest UPI app that's used in India. They have about 40% market share, and they are not at all profitable. Like, they don't know,
Interesting.
they're not able to make money off of it. But I think we can show the world that by using Bitcoin Cash and by charging a very, very low fee, we can have we can have a, yeah, a system where it's profitable and it's sustainable, which
Yeah.
they themselves are not able to do.
Yeah. So starting to think about like the best possible use cases for this. So obviously,
Mhm.
average person who has some sort of UPI enabled regular app doesn't have a lot
Mhm.
of incentive right now to switch unless they're worried
Yeah,
about inflation or they want to use other features such as like staking income or some kind of thing like that that's only really available in the crypto world, or they're a criminal or something and they don't have access to money, right? Or
right, right, right.
on the other hand, if you're talking about an unbanked person,
Mhm.
then already they can't pay at like UPI stuff. They have to carry cash with them probably,
Yeah,
right? And then that's an extra risk of being robbed maybe, or just not having enough on your person, and just all this other kind of stuff. And so it seems like it would be a pretty straightforward kind of thing to just go to unbanked person and just say, like, not even talk too much about the crypto side of things. Just say,
yeah,
hey, I found a way that you can go pay at the UPI stuff. Oh, really? How? And then you just show them, and then they're like, I want to be paid in that. I want that because that gets me there. And then just start kind of
yeah.
doing that. See if they have any kind of remittance partners elsewhere in the world, and then that's kind of how you bootstrap the economy.
Yeah, yeah. So, but we do have a prerequisite for that, which is the other way around, which is, we are going to enable receiving through UPI as well. We are still working on that. So, a user would have a UPI QR code enabled within the Zapit wallet, so they could go to anyone and show the Zapit wallet, and another user could scan the Zapit's QR code from a UPI app and pay with rupees, but the Zapit user would get credited in Bitcoin Cash. I think that kind of solves the entire loop, and it would allow basically anyone to live completely off of crypto. I think this would be a key feature because, yes, we can go to the unbanked and tell them that, hey, no, yeah, you have access to the UPI payments, but there's no way they can still receive uh, payments into the Zapit wallet, because how will they really add some Bitcoin Cash to their wallet? That's still not there. So once we solve that, I think, yes, then we have access to the 200 million people that do not
Yeah.
have access to the banking sector, and yes, we can heavily market it to them. We can target them and try and onboard them into the financial ecosystem. And it would be awesome if they could get involved, and we can show the world that, hey, look what cryptocurrencies are enabling. UPI already has 200 million, but there's 200 million that don't even have a bank account that we can individually serve, that they can't. None of them can, because they all do the heavy KYC requirements, but we don't necessarily have those. As a non-custodial wallet, we don't have the same requirements, and we can onboard them. But apart from that, I think with respect to incentives, yeah, we've already thought about that. In India, what happens is most of the apps are fighting for market share by basically incentivizing users to use their app. They give cashbacks, they give discounts, they give all kinds of offers. But unfortunately, their model is, again, very unsustainable, and they burn through their marketing money to give all kinds of discounts and stuff. It's not sustainable. They can do that as long as they have funds, but after they run out of funds, they can't really do anything. So we came up with an idea to do something similar, but in a more sustainable fashion.
Hmm.
So we have our own token. It's called the Zapped token. So there's a section in the app called rewards where anyone can earn Zap token by performing certain actions or watching ads. What happens is they immediately or instantly receive the Zap token into the wallet. Now, any user can actually use the Zap token. They can redeem the Zap token for discounts. So let's say you have earned $1 worth of Zap token. You
Hmm.
can go to any store, scan a QR code. Let's say you're making a payment of $10. You can actually redeem the Zap token, and you'll only be making a payment of $9 from your wallet, and the rest $1 would be redeemed using the Zap token. But the tokenomics there itself is that the token is swapped using a decentralized exchange. So the market kind of gives the discount within our system. So people who want or businesses whoever want to put up advertisements have to buy the Zap token from the market. So there's a the buy pressure available in the market, and redeeming the discount is a sell pressure. So it kind of balances out there. So we feel like this model that we have introduced can kind of have a sustainable, ongoing discount system that kind of can continue for as long as the system can exist.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the switching incentive that then you get that does not run out unlike the other ones.
Yeah, we give up to 25% discount on payments, which is huge.
That is pretty huge. Yeah.
Yeah, up to 25%. So people, whoever are using it, they kind of love it. But yeah, I think we still need to, cover a huge portion of the population because in India, it's a bit hard, right? Like the advertising is kind of different. And we also cannot do too heavy on the advertisement because we don't want to grow too fast. We would rather like to grow gradually and in a more sustainable fashion rather than grow immediately because we also don't want to be under the radar as quickly
Yeah.
as possible. Like, it's better to grow slowly and then make sure all the everything, whatever we're doing, is in the right way,
Hmm.
rather
Yeah,
than
that
being
definitely makes
clamped down
sense.
by the government for growing too fast, which usually ends up happening all the time. So.
So you think there's a risk if you grow too fast that the government gives you trouble?
Oh yeah, I mean any crypto platform that kind of threatens the national currency or the power of the national currency would be looked at as a problem.
Hmm.
But we do have solutions where we can show that hey, this kind of actually strengthens the national economy. As I mentioned, with respect to onboarding or getting the unbanked involved in the financial system, it's good that more people are able to circulate the money and the productivity of the country grows higher. So again, but this can only happen slowly and gradually. And if you're able to show even the government that this is actually a good thing, then I think they would be more relaxed with our approach.
Yeah, that makes sense. Uh, I guess the risk might not be to be shut down completely as a company, but might be that some kind of a UPI access gets blocked or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. So if anything, just the UPI access would get blocked.
Hmm.
The rest of the non-custodialness, the user funds are always safe because it's always in the hands of the user. At most, our funds may get blocked in the account, but the service may get shut down. But the wallet will continue working. The services will continue working. The peer-to-peer exchange works in a decentralized way that still continues. We just have to find a new way to do the same things that we're doing.
Yeah,
And I
I
think
mean
we're
that.
good at it. I think we are good at innovating in a way where we can carry on or we can come up with something new to enable the same kind of payments.
Yeah, that makes sense. This has been quite the enlightening chat. Where could people find more about you and Zapit?
Yeah, so we are available on Twitter and Telegram at Zapit_IO.
Hmm.
On Telegram, I am at Romit Radical. On Twitter, I'm at Radical Romit.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, thanks very much for chatting with me today. I hope you have a good one.
Sure, thank you so much. It was great chatting with you.